Surface area calculating here. We've got a rectangular prism and a triangular prism here, and we're just going to calculate their surface area. So here we're identifying the shape, rectangular prism. The formula for the surface area is 2 times the area of the base plus the perimeter of the base times the height. Now, of course, with surface area, you could also just find the area of each surface and add them up. I was always a fan of that method, but here I'll show you how to use the formula. But like I said, you can just calculate each of the faces and add them together. For this problem, being a rectangular prism, you get to choose. Since all of the faces are rectangles, you can choose which one you want to be the base. This is out of the ordinary because usually there's 2 polygon shapes that aren't like the rest. Like on the triangular prism, you can see there's 2 triangles only in that picture, and those must be the bases. But with the rectangular prism, any of them could be the base. So you can choose whichever one. I'm going to choose the bottom to be the base for this one. So this is capital B standing for area of the base. This one is going to be 10 times 4 since I chose that one, which will be the area of the base will be 40. So my area of the base is 40, and I also need P for the formula, and P is the perimeter of the base. So the perimeter of the base is to add up all the sides of this rectangle here on the bottom that I chose to be the base, which would be 10 plus 10 plus 4 plus 4, which will be 28. Then you need the height of the prism, which is the, since this is my base on the bottom, the other base that would go with it is the top, and the height is always the distance connecting those bases. So the height here is going to be this 6 meters. So we're going to fill those into the formula. 2 times the area of the base, which is 40, plus the perimeter of the base, which is 28, times the height, which is 6. So, using that formula here, this will be 2 times 40 is 80, and then 28 times 6 is 168. And then when we add 80 to that, we get 248. So, the surface area of this prism is 248 meters squared, since it's area that we're finding here. And moving on to the triangular prism. And any triangular prism, the triangle is the base. So any prisms, you always look and see, is there any shape that's not like the others? And see, the lateral faces are always going to be rectangles. So you look for anything that's not a rectangle. There's 2 triangles here. Those are the bases of this figure. So this is a triangular prism. And the formula is the same, except for when we're actually calculating the capital B, the area of the base, it's going to be the formula for a triangle. So I'm going to calculate those now. So this is my base right here, and it's a very, very common mistake to use the rectangle that it lays on as the base, but you always want to use the figure that if there's ever a figure that's not a rectangle, that's going to be your base, and so you want to use that one. So the area of the base here is the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle divided by 2. So it's going to be 8 times 5 divided by 2. 8 times 5 is 40, divided by 2 is 20. So the area of the base is 20. So I'm going to start with 2 times 20 for 2 times b. Now I need the perimeter of the base. Since I don't know the hypotenuse of this triangle, I'm going to have to figure it out. I'm going to have to use Pythagorean theorem to figure it out. So 5 squared plus 8 squared is the hypotenuse squared, or c squared. I should have used c probably here. But we'll have to calculate that with Pythagorean theorem. So 5 squared plus 8 squared, and then square root that. And of course my calculator doesn't have the square root function. So I think on my other one I used the wrong one. Let me see. 25 and 64 is 89. So I need the square root of 89 here. So let me figure out what that is. About 9.43 is the square root of 89. So I'm going to use that for this hypotenuse of this triangle here. So for the perimeter, I need to add 5 plus 8 plus 9.43. And so the perimeter, when I add those three sides, is 22.43. Now for the height of the prism. A lot of people mistakenly put the height of the triangle there for h, but the h in this formula right here is referring to the height of the prism. And you don't think about this being the height because it's sort of laying down. It's not standing up on its base. So the height of the prism is always the distance between the bases. So for this one, the height here is 12 of this prism because it's the distance that connects your bases. So using that height, 12. So 2 times 20 is 40 plus 22.43 times 12 is 269.16 plus 40 is 309.16 feet squared for the surface area. So that's surface area of a rectangular prism and a triangular prism.